Are you guys ready? Ready,
Pumped.
player one.
Oh, that's worse than the last
Oh,
week.
no, it's not. Come on, are you ready? Ready, player one. Alright, never mind. Right, okay, so we're going to be talking about Ready Player One plus all the latest, well, some latest film news. Sorry, guys.
Mate.
I'm really enticing you in here. Stick around. Welcome back to another episode of Tripod Talk, where we talk anything and everything about films. My name's Matt Lidster, I am your host, and I'm joined as always, as we are the house of Not Sexy, Miss Sophie Ellis and Mr. Adil Anwar.
What a way to be
Yeah, no, that's not going to make much sense to people, but it's fine.
the house as well. Not the home of Not Sexy, it's the
Oh,
house.
alright.
But thank you
I
for
could
that
say it.
beautiful...
Do you want to say
Cheers,
it again,
Matt.
or shall I just leave it?
Yeah, please.
Really? Right, okay.
Not funny for anyone else.
Right.
I know, yeah, we're just having a good time. It's a good day. So, yeah, let's get straight into the film news. Dill, I believe you have some announcements you want to make.
Yeah,
Hey, ye!
okay. Right. I'll start off with film news story number one. This is going back to a film we actually saw in the podcast and reviewed, and we already enjoyed it. It's about It.
It.
And we obviously watched the original. It's about chapter number 2 of it as well. Some kind of rumours have come about who's
Ooh.
going to play the adult version of the children.
Yeah.
Basically, they're thinking that James McAvoy from Split and Wanted and a lot of stuff like that might be
Oh.
playing the new Pennywise.
Wait,
The
what?
new Pennywise?
Or the adult... Wait. Bill Skarsgård will be back as Pennywise. Sorry, I hadn't read the article until right now. McAvoy
Okay, good.
is going to play Bill, which is why I got
That
confused
makes
by all the
sense.
names.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I'd like
Yep.
that. Yeah.
And Hader, they think, might be playing Richie, who was Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things in the this version of it,
Okay.
which should make sense to you guys, not me. And obviously, they've already previously kind of said about Jessica Chastain being
Yeah.
the other part in it.
That's shaping
So
up quite
stuff
nicely.
it is,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's coming up as kind of an interesting cast.
Yeah.
So that's kind of we all really enjoyed with the original we really enjoyed the younger version, and I was a bit more tepid on the older one.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the chapter 2 kind of plays out when it does come out.
When's it due out, do you know? Next year, was it? Or the year after?
2019.
About September 2019, they're
Yeah.
thinking. Same director's coming back, which is a good sign.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a
How
very
much
good sign.
It was kind of his passion project to get made, and kind of deserved that he's coming back.
I really did like that film.
Yeah, I was really
Yeah.
impressed with it as well, because it was like a Stand By Me type thing of like the whole adolescent journey into adulthood together as a group thing. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that side of it more than even the horror of it.
Plus, most remakes aren't usually that good in terms of it doesn't really add anything else to it. I thought this
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think we're all kind of very excited for that one
Oh
coming
yeah,
out.
especially with McAvoy on it. He's been killing it recently.
Another
Yeah.
one which Soph may be more excited about, or maybe terrified about, I'm not really sure,
Oh,
is
no.
Mulan's having a live-action version being made.
I'm excited.
They've added now Gong Li and Jet Li to the cast a bit. They are keeping quite to the actual like Vietnamese, Chinese actors to do it. Donnie Yen's also joined it
Oh yeah.
from this recent Star Wars film. He played the blind one, right?
Oh, in Rogue One, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of slowly coming together. I'm not really sure about the whole live action things that are coming about with Disney films recently, but
You haven't seen Mulan, have you?
no.
And you haven't?
I've not seen the original.
And there's the
no.
live action Lion King coming out, so I'm curious to see how these live action versions are going
Yeah.
to play out. The casting so far has been really interesting on all of them,
Mm.
especially with the Lion King. I'm super excited about the way they've casted that.
Have you seen The Jungle Book?
No, I haven't seen that
It's on
actually.
Netflix.
It's on Netflix now.
How is it?
Yeah.
What did you guys think of it?
We've
Have you
not
both
seen it yet.
I tell you what, if
It's on the
we were
list.
sponsored, that would have been a mint segue. But we're
Sponsored by Netflix.
Ambitious.
Yeah,
Imagine.
definitely what I was
not.
thinking.
Well, you know.
Someday.
Someday.
Some
Anyway.
more just general casting news as well.
Oh, yeah.
There's an action comedy film called Stuber, which has got Dave Bautista, who's Batista from the WWE
Hey.
and in Guardians of the Galaxy, and again, I think we already like him.
Yeah.
I thought he was really funny in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and also Kumail Nanjiani, the guy from the Big Sick. And
Oh, yeah.
also they've added the guy from the Raid, who's called Iko Uwais. And he's really, really good in the first Raid film. Basically, the Dread
I've
film
still
that
not
came
seen
out.
the Raid film.
Dread, which was also a really good film, was basically a complete rip-off of that, and just they're locked in one building. He's basically by himself, and he just kicks the living out of everybody in that building. Yeah, I'm trying to stick to our.
There we go.
try not
Family
to swear
friendly.
thing.
You should cut that, and every time someone swears, just have it in Dill's voice.
Is that hard on you? Like instead of a
I'd
buzzer.
love that.
I think that'd be really easy to do.
Yeah,
Hold on, don't swear a lot, please.
I'll try not to.
Sometimes I
make
miss
no
stuff.
promises. But yeah, so that's a bit more cast news. I'm really curious to see how he plays in a comedy, especially because he probably will be choreographing a lot of the action scenes. So I'll be interested to see how he works along with Camille Nanjiani, who's playing kind of a taxi driver, who is an Uber driver, sorry, whose car is hijacked by Dave Bautista. They're suspecting that the guy from the raid might be a villain, so that's coming together quite slowly. It's not coming out for a while, but that's kind of an interesting one. Apparently, it's well, they still haven't got a release date for it, so I don't know why I brought that up. But
Just get excited for it.
yeah, but I'm curious about that. Another kind of film one again is Terminator 6. I don't know if you've heard anything about this.
Yeah, I've heard that it's just recently had a release date, possibly. Or...
Yeah, they're basically they're trying to take it in a different direction. It's kind of interesting from the last Terminator film because obviously that flopped a little bit. So this one is being set in Mexico City. They're doing kind of an entirely, it seems to be quite a Latina cast. They've found now the character to play the main character is being called Danny Ramos. He's being stalked by a new Terminator. And they've found somebody, so they've kind of found, again, these names aren't going to make a lot of sense to people, but they're going in a different direction with kind of unknown actors to play their parts. Gabriel Luna is going to play the new Terminator. He's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a couple of kind of smaller things like that. So we're kind of curious to see James Cameron's going in a new direction with it. So I'm actually I've got a slightly higher hopes for it, seeing as I think sometimes it takes some failing for somebody to get back to the original idea.
Yeah,
So,
although I was gonna say the only thing that I could think of with that was Alien, and then Ridley Scott just went, no, we're not doing Alien anymore. We're gonna focus on the AI. So that's a terrible example to use.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
But, no, that's good.
Yeah, just there's a
looking
few
forward to
different kind of things film coming out with. I can see just in casting in general, it seems like they're going in a different direction. Whereas it felt like recently has been a lot of, Kevin Hart, like Passengers, Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt. Just I always use that one as an example, but just slam together the people who are most hyped, and that the studios think that'll make a film carry. And I'm hoping we've kind of got past that and we're moving into a bit more of a an interesting
I'm
kind of
excited for
casting.
that. Although as soon as you said Kevin Hart, have you seen the new trailer for Night School?
Oh,
No,
That's just recently been released,
watch
and
it.
I love Kevin Hart. I love his stand-ups. I love most things that he does, but this looks awful.
you know we
Like,
watched a trailer of Daphne and Velma.
oh yeah,
Same level of cringiness.
oh no, it's sad to me.
Not for me. I thought that one was worse, but
I'll show
this
you
is
later.
still
You'd
terrible.
hate it.
Yeah, it's a disappointing thing because it's again he's a really impressive success story from what he is like, what he managed to make himself of, but it's just not. He just let himself get oversaturated in the whole thing.
Yeah.
I hope the same thing doesn't happen with The Rock, because again he's such a likable person, but it feels like, especially with Rampage coming out, he's gone a bit too far, and it's just going to become a point where we're all tired with him.
Yeah, because that's not even the other film that's supposed to be coming out soon as well. He's in another one where he's like the
Oh yeah,
the security guard of the biggest building in the world.
That doesn't look too. I mean, it doesn't look too bad. But again, the same with most trailers, it gives it away. You see
Yeah.
him running off a bridge at a certain point. You see it explode. You see quite a lot.
What was the film recently we saw where it just gave the
Meg.
entire...
I
there was
wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, there's another trailer out called The Meg. Have you seen it? It's got Jason Statham in it.
Yeah, it's ringing a bell.
Right.
It's a comedy, right?
And it... Apparently, right, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's set up like it seems like they're in some underwater base, and it's set up like quite... It seems like it's a thriller at first, and it's, like some sort of thriller horror film, you'd
Sorry.
say.
Yeah, I was just remembering how into it you were at the start.
Oh yeah, no, it was mint. Honestly, I saw this and I thought
This could
this
be
is
great.
like a Nolan version of Deep Blue
Wow.
Sea.
As soon as you said Nolan, I was like,
Exactly.
You were very
And
excited.
yeah, exactly.
'Cause I know how much
So
you love Nolan.
yeah, so I'm looking at this thing and I think, oh wow, this is really cool. And then tense music and everything builds up, and then it just cuts, And it's like starting to do this comedy sort of, like weird sort of happier music in the background. Everyone's making sort of jokes or quips and stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to put that in.
No.
It went from looking amazing with the graphics to just,
To
you
literally,
completely
I
ruined
don't
it.
give a toss.
Do you think it felt a bit forced where like it was a bit like action comedies are making money now, we'll make this an action comedy, and they kind of forced it on
probably.
the script? Is that your feel for
I
it?
don't
or-
know, because it was, honestly, if you see it,
It looked like it was going to be great. and
Yeah.
then They
Up
just suddenly
until-
lost it every...
up until that point. So it's just like, you know.
I'd be curious to see Jason Statham in a real comedy. My opinion on him is a weird one. Like, I don't really see him being... I don't see him as an actor to a certain degree. I see him as just a stuntman who has lines occasionally. but maybe he is a good actor, I don't know. He's definitely got an interesting background with being like an Olympic diver and like a London kind of West End market seller and then getting picked out by Guy Ritchie. So I'm definitely on his side if he can kind of maintain that kind of career. But I've just not seen anything so far that would ever kind of show that he'd be good at that kind of thing. Even that he did a film with a spy film with Jude Law and what's she called again?
It's not Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, it's
Although
Melissa McCarthy. Yeah.
What, called The Spy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he
Or
just,
yeah.
Spy or something.
again,
Yeah.
that was a comedy, but he didn't jump out at me as anything particularly funny. So it does feel a bit forced with me trying to pivot his career in a certain direction. No, yeah, I think I pretty much finished that. I want to give him a chance, but I've not seen anything to show that he could be good at kind of the comedy. I don't see him as much of a kind of carrier film type personality. Although his one scene in the first Expendables film is the best scene in the film for me. I don't know if you've seen it. All right. Yeah, he has a scene where he just like in a basketball court, it's him against like 9 guys, and he's a very, very good action performer. But I don't see the comedy in him yet. My last bit of film news as well. Oh no, wait, I've just closed the tab. This is catastrophic.
Quick, adding
good
Phyllis. I mean, I could just cut this out, but I'm
You
not
could.
gonna.
All right,
I've got a
yeah.
little bit.
Oh, you've got a little bit.
All right.
It's not major.
Well, I found mine. I'll do my last bit, and then you do yours.
Yeah, it's only one little statement, but
All right, cool. Well, the last bit of film news I have is about. Did you see the recent Girl with the Dragon Tattoo film with that David Fincher did?
No.
Well, there was that one. There was also the original Swedish versions with
Yeah.
Noomi Rapace. Apparently, what they're basically happening now is they're skipping David Fincher's one. They're going no further with that. So Rooney Mara's out. They're now skipping to The Girl in the Spider's Web, which was written after the death of the original author Stieg Larsson. And Claire Foy, who is in The Crown, is going to be playing Lisbeth Salander.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a strange direction for me. It's a really strange thing to happen to a series of films if you think about it in general, where
Yeah.
the Swedish ones were really well acclaimed. David Fincher's one was amazing, but obviously it's a David Fincher film. But now they're skipping him, a whole new person stepping in. And Claire Foy, apparently, it looks like she's taken in a bit more of a bit less of an edgy direction to use kind of...
Which seemed to be the whole appeal of that sort of film as well. So.
I thought I recognised her name. She was the main girl in Unsane that we didn't end up going seeing.
Okay.
Stephen
Yeah.
Merchant's also in it, and Lakeith Stansfield, who is in Get Out, and he's very much an up and coming person in cinema, and I reckon he's going to be kind of very big over the next few years. He's in Atlanta as well, which is Donald Glover / Childish Gambino's TV show. But we'll see how that works. I'm not really sure whether it's kind of a money thing, skipping to the 4th film, or whether it's an actual decision. But we'll see how that goes, because I think the books are really good. I've read the books. The film so far have been really good. So, and for some reason, there's that kind of Scandinavian people are really good at thrillers. So, we'll see how that film comes out. But I'm not too sure. I've not seen The Crown or anything else of Claire Foy.
No,
No.
I don't either. So.
Seems
I mean,
a
I
strange
should probably
casting.
watch the other ones first before going into this.
Yeah.
But whenever there's been, these kind of little known British actresses get big parts, they tend to really perform. So I'd like to, that's another one where I'm giving it a shot.
Yeah.
We'll see if we hear much about it once it actually comes out, but it seems like there's a lot of kind of quite interesting directions films are going in over the next couple of years or so. And with the terms of casting and live action and remakes and stuff. So we'll see how it all kind of goes, but I see a lot of these bombing, and maybe 1 or 2 of them doing well, just of the ones I've gone that so far.
Yeah. Although I was going to say, the one that I can think of, like when you just going back to a previous point you had, where you just kind of put stars together and hope for the best. Jumanji, do you remember that film?
Oh yeah.
That nearly made $1 billion.
Did it?
Yeah, it made like
Jesus
$900
Christ.
million or something like that.
Jeez.
I'm pretty sure it was like near
But I think that was around
970
the
odd.
peak of that, like, stick names together, stick likable people together, people will watch it. But I feel like since then, you know, the graph's definitely definitely on a downturn. That doesn't seem to be working anymore.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a good sign, and I hope we
I
get a
hope
bit
so,
more kind of
yeah,
interesting
but-
things. But that's insane to me that it made nearly that much money. Wow.
Yeah. So, you had one final piece of news?
It wasn't really to do with film, it's to do with an actor. And I mentioned it to you that Will Ferrell
Oh, yeah. It
was
in
hospitalised. I just didn't know if you wanted to discuss at any point TJ Miller.
Oh, yeah, with the being arrested by the FBI.
Yeah, did you see that? With
Oh
TJ
no,
Miller?
I know a fair bit about TJ Miller and just him in general being very unstable and leaving Silicon Valley kind of unceremoniously. Definitely, they didn't want him to leave, and it was just a bit of his. He's got clearly a bit of an ego and a bit of an insane personality. What's
Yeah.
with the FBI news?
He called in I'm sorry. A fake bomb threat to someone that he didn't like on a train.
Jesus.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he
He's definitely
reported
unstable.
that he saw her looking into a bag quite suspiciously and that it seemed like she was going to get up and leave the bag unattended. So he rang 911 and explained it, didn't he? And we were like, oh, well, fair enough, you have every right to. And then it turned out by the woman that was working on it, they'd started arguing, he'd drank quite a lot, and just because he didn't like her, he ended up ringing and saying that she had a bomb, and the FBI had to come on and check it all out, and he was arrested, like, how long was it?
A couple of days ago, I think now. Or at least from the time of recording this.
Yeah, but how long would he have been?
I think he would have been out by now. That's what he could afford bail.
Yeah. But it's just whether people's opinions of him are going to drop, because obviously
Yeah.
I would assume he's in Deadpool 2.
He is, yeah.
I think he may be made kind of more indicative of like there's a certain type of comedy personality who get their success by just being unhinged and crazy and letting their personality go wild. You know, you had Bill Hicks and Jim Belushi and stuff going back a bit. And when they do get to be really popular, they struggle a lot because they're about and their face is known. But in their head, what got them to where they are is just being as unleashed and kind of just giving into their every whim as they have.
Yeah.
So it's just a strange thing to then suddenly pull back and be like, all right, well, now I'm a part of this machine and I'm known and I need to be a bit more reasonable. So I think he is definitely struggling with that kind of, maybe there's some kind of alcohol issues and stuff, but there's also just that side of it with like Jim Belushi used to get drunk and just knock on people's houses in Hollywood and then let them sleep on his sofa just to get it off because he was that famous. Again, it might not make much sense to you. He was on Saturday Night Live and did like the Blues Brothers film and stuff.
Right.
But again, he was just a crazy personality, got super famous off being so unpredictable and out there, and then that personality doesn't work once you are that famous because everybody just indulges you.
Yeah.
So there's no way to have any kind of control and there's no balance to any kind of life to there. So, you know, you hope he gets it together a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope so, because he's in this film we're talking about.
Oh, of course he is. Yeah.
Segway!
But is he?
Oh,
he
yeah.
is, yeah.
He-
No
he's the, well, we're talking about
Oh,
him.
of course he is, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Awful
Shall,
segue.
shall
Sorry
we
to
leave the... That was the film news for this week, so
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed the film news, but shall we get into the film review?
Nailed it, mate.
Yeah, nailed it. Okay, so we're talking about Ready Player One, new film by Steven Spielberg. Stars Ty Sheridan and Ben Mendelsohn. Also has a cameo of Simon Pegg, plus some other stars, which have been...
Olivia
Oh,
Cook.
no.
Do not
Olivia
leave
Cook.
Olivia
You didn't name
Cook. I know. What?
Sophie's
Olivia
not gonna...
Cook.
She's going to hold that over you for a long time.
You like her and all.
Well, yeah,
Come on.
no,
She's
I was
very good.
adding more
Yeah.
people in at the time, but yeah, shall I just give a quick synopsis before we talk about this film? I
Sure.
know I've got it right now.
Yeah, you do.
Lean away.
Okay, so this film, Ready Player One, also just before we start, if anyone's listening and you've not watched the film, please don't listen to this. Go and watch the film because we're going to talk about spoilers and everything else to do about this film.
Then come
so-
back and listen to this.
Yeah, then come back. Obviously.
No,
Definitely
just
come
go.
back.
Just
Please.
leave.
Okay, so this Ready Player One is set in a dystopian future where a virtual world called the Oasis has become the way of life. Wade Watts, played by Ty Sheridan, takes on the quest of finding the hidden Easter egg left by the man who designed it all that promises the ownership of the Oasis. He forms his own team to complete the game before the evil company IOI, run by Nolan Sorrento, can take the fortune.
Sounds alright.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of this film?
Oh.
Because I remember it was getting out of the cinema, and I was very optimistic and happy about this film. And I turned to you guys, and you went, "This is the biggest piece of scene." I was just, I was like,
Soph wasn't as bad as me, I don't
Yeah,
think.
only because we watched Isle of Dogs in the same day.
It was a
And I
mental
can't...
day.
Huh?
It was a mental day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a hectic one. But to compare Ready Player One and Isle of Dogs just seemed a bit too much for me. And there was... I enjoyed certain elements and I really enjoyed the graphics of it. But there's just moments where me and Dale were looking at each other like, what is going on? Or we just both audibly sigh or
just
just...
massive plot holes and just like, why would
Yeah.
that happen? Why did this not come into play?
Yeah, and I like stuff that involves like cheesy romances or people being the good guy coming out
We
of
got
stuff.
some romance stuff to talk about. Oh god, right, okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And normally I'm so into that, but I just couldn't buy into it. And I'd buy into like Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, there's been quite a lot of anticipation between us for doing this podcast because it's pretty much the first one where me and Matt really digress on what we feel
Yeah.
about the film.
Yeah.
Because Matt's, not to speak for you, but you're obviously very up on it and you feel
Oh,
like
yeah,
it was a really good film.
I definitely watched this film again. I loved the entire thing start to finish. So.
Whereas I really thought it was a bit of a bad film. I thought it was a bit kind of like looking down almost on the audience it was directed at, and just there was so many moments where I was just like taken out of the film by just weaknesses in the plot and the way that things were happening, which we'll get into in more detail, but
Okay.
it'll be interesting to kind of compare notes on that one.
I think it's interesting because I'm sort of sat at the head of the table, kind of, and Matt and Dale are sat opposite. And because their opinions are so opposite, I feel like I should sit back and you'd be like, well, this was shit. No, I don't think this is bad. This is good.
There's
So
a
I'm
bit of a
interested to
mediation
hear
vibe,
this.
isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a bit of a like fighting over kids, like
Yeah.
an old couple thing.
Okay. Do you want me to go into like good parts, or do you want to go into the bad parts first?
No, go into what you thought first.
Right, okay, so I think maybe it's because I love this kind of story. I love, like, you know, the kind of the outsider in the world, not really kind of feeling that he's got a place, and he kind of finds a place where he belongs, like everyone, like, you know, and feels part of the community, like everyone else kind of does within this community as well. And I've always had an idea of like making a film where I know it's a book first, so it was adapted, which we've got some notes to make about that. Some people who've read the book are not happy with this film at all, but
Didn't know that.
yeah, apparently they again, I've already said spoilers, you shouldn't be listening, but you know, the Shining part
Yeah.
Yes.
wasn't even in the book.
You
just
just
added it in.
Spielberg like.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
I
yeah.
kind of like that touch to
Oh,
it.
That was one of the
love
better
that.
parts of the entire.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
no, I
yeah.
did as well.
For me.
But yeah,
Garbo
going back to
stuff
this
like
kind of
I love
story.
Garbo.
Garbo, God damn it.
It's my trademark word.
Sorry, he said Garbo at some point in the week, and I was like, you need to stop. Sorry, go on.
But yeah, so yeah, I've always wanted to see a film that is kind of set in the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of envisioned doing something like that myself, to actually see this come alive and see the world that it's in, plus seeing the development of the way that CGI is to this, you know, seeing the standard that it is in this film, completely blew me away. So I think maybe more of it is just on my subjective view of like, this is awesome because I've always wanted to see this. So
Yeah.
I'm probably cutting corners a little bit by saying, yeah, that's just part of the film, you know, just
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But sorry, I loved the way that the story naturally like kind of went through the task, because I also love mystery / adventure stuff as well. So I'm like, oh, task, okay, let's do this, and you can move on to the next stuff, and
Yeah.
bits like that. I thought Ben Mendelsohn is doing a fantastic job over the last couple of years. He's been nailing every part.
Everything,
I know he's
yeah.
getting like some of the sort of the same parts, and he keeps playing the bad guy and stuff, but he's nailing that role. So fair enough.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, absolutely loved him and the dynamics between the good and the bad in this film, as well as Olivia Cook's character as well. Though I do not like the, you know, oh, so she's so hideously disfigured and stuff. It's not,
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you got a scar on your
That
face.
really annoyed me. That
Yeah.
really annoyed
And it's
me.
not on the poster, the film poster. We saw it in stop put, and even though it's like part of her hair, you can't see the actual scar. And I know that's probably, is it a spoiler? I don't
think it's a spoiler.
I still feel like you should
Yeah.
include it. And
Yeah.
it's not as if she's disfigured either. It's a birthmark. Get over yourself. Like,
No, that really annoyed me. That was like, why? What? It's a bigger point, but it's just like, why? Because she's a nerd, she has to have some kind.
Yeah,
why
why-
can't she just be a pretty girl who's into video
Yeah,
games? and
exactly.
references?
Exactly.
Why does she have to have some kind of disfigurement to not be just a normal jockey girl? Like
yeah.
that immediately it got on my kind of nerves.
Yeah. Me too.
Especially, I heard as well in the book that the main character is actually quite overweight, and she's much more like disfigured and stuff. So to kind of make those changes and be like, we'll just make it like this. It seems like it does seem a bit cheap,
Mhm.
you know, in comparison. But go back to the film and stuff. I think for me, the bit that I love the most about like the whole thing is just this pop culture, like, and it seemed like it went too much into it a little bit at times because there were some references I probably never even got,
Yeah.
or most people probably would never even get. But to kind of see little nods to everything that we've seen before of like the last 30 years, I thought was incredible. Because you don't usually get that kind of stuff in cinema. Like, you get the odd nod to, like, certain things here and there, but to kind of see everything come at you in one go, I was like, oh, this is this. Oh, that's that. Oh, this is this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, so I think for me, I was just quite blown away by it all. I can see the pitfalls in where, you know, sometimes the story, you know, like the plot demands it and this kind of stuff. And, that, yeah, I think I can kind of forgive it.
Yeah,
But I can see why other people wouldn't.
That's one thing, is that you were willing to forgive it, whereas for me, it didn't feel like a situation of like, am I going to forgive it? It felt almost disparaging to people, because it felt to me like whoever made this film thought people who are into this kind of thing just want a bunch of references thrown at them that they get, just to clearly show that you're into their culture and you've done a bit of research. But to me, it was like those kind of people as well are true, like, discerning consumers of media like this. And this film, to me, like, of any of the major kind of films I've seen recently, there was the least character kind of, you know, interesting characters and character development and character relationships and interrelationships. And to me, it was just, everybody was incredibly Route One. It was a bit like the first time they saw each other, it was a bit like, oh, so we're going to immediately become romantically involved. We're going to immediately be best friends because we're best friends in the game. To me, it was just like there wasn't any creativity in the characters and who they were and their backgrounds and the way that they interacted with each other. And then as well, so that was probably my main thing that I found upsetting about it, is that, like, to me it was a bit like whoever made it thought the people who want to see this film just want to see, oh look, there's Tetris, and oh look, there's Overwatch, and not just, we also want real people we can associate with, and we also want to feel some real empathy for them.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel anything for any of the characters. They're all too tick in a box.
Yeah.
This guy's this guy, this girl's this girl, he's going to have this friend who does this background, whatever. There's nothing of any interest in them. And
See,
then,
oh,
yeah,
so
go on. No, go on.
No, I was going to say, here's the thing. I 100% agree with you. But, and it's not even like a bad thing about it, I just feel like that's part of the film because it's that kind of story. I could argue that there is some sort of character development in the main character, which is Parzival, I think.
Yeah, Parzival.
Because you kind of see him go from, I'm this outsider, I'm alone, I'm on this world, to being like, okay, I actually have friends, I have these relationships, I form these bonds, and now I'm going to make a difference in the world about it, and he changes the way that everything kind of goes.
But how did he suddenly, all right, this is, again, I'm going to start
Yeah, go on.
immediately jumping on it, but, so it starts off with him being this socially inept, very, like, he's got a horrible background, it's him and his games, and that's his escape. But then suddenly when he meets the girl in real life, he's got incredible lines, he's incredibly comfortable about her, he just chats her up in seconds. Then when everybody else comes in, you know, they are the people who are, like, they're meant to be obsessed with the game and spend every minute of their life in the game, but they've all clearly got their own kind of identities, and they're all cool people with, like, quick quips and stuff like that. When it's just
I see what you
like,
mean.
you're ticking a bunch of boxes with lines from the characters, but you're more, it just felt to me like they were all written to be idealistic, like, when they're in the game they're gonna be this person, when they're in real life they're just gonna jump straight into being perfect, like, action hero, cool guy,
Yeah, no, I understand
offbeat
that.
character. Just to me it was a bit like, as somebody who knows a lot of people, I'm somewhat into that kind of geeky nerdy culture, and as someone who knows people who are really into it, just the lack of kind of effort that went into developing the characters and making them have some real depth was just something that I immediately just thought was a kind of top. I was just like, this could be better.
Yeah, no,
I get-
you're not wrong at all. And I think maybe that's partly more because we've seen so many other films that have that element to them that I think we now together
Especially with
kind
the
of
Spielberg film as well.
yeah,
like,
I know.
was
Like we see that as a basic element of a film, and that's what it should be like. So to then come into this film and it not have it, it's like
everybody's incredibly Route 1, and that's
Yeah.
a football term which you guys might not get.
no,
but
I get it.
Route 1's just, again, it's just the first option. You bash it down the pitch and you hope somebody scores it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing off the wall or offbeat or interesting about the way it's done. It's just, and then like going off the characters as well, to me, just because that first of all took me out of it, and then there was a million trillion little like inconsistencies and plot holes and things that didn't make sense to me. That was just because I was already not that invested in the people and not that invested in the world. Maybe it made it easier for me to see them. But I was just like, well, that wouldn't happen. Why wouldn't he do that? Why wouldn't she do that? How come in this incredible crafted plan with this many people going, there's this stupidly obvious little pitfall open?
Wait, like what? So let's
So
go
for the
into
one
those
example, which again, it's been a while since we've watched it, but the one that me and Soph immediately spotted, and I like looked at her and she was just looking at me like, what the hell? Was that Olivia Cook gets captured by the bad guy who's got a massive a massively influential corporation at his
bits. Oh, I know
fingertips,
which one you mean.
and
Yeah.
she's locked in a cell, and she gets advice over an earpiece, I think, on
Yeah,
how
it
to
is.
get out of the cell. And
Yeah.
the advice is, reach over your head, there's a lever, open the lever, you're free. And to me, it was a bit like, what kind of idiotic like, the whole point of this is it's meant to be something to trap her in. Did they not think that people who were locked in those would reach around and feel their environment a bit to try and work out a way out? Like, that was for one. Another one, for example, again, I know we're gonna get into our movie review and maybe chat about this in a bit more detail, but in parts of the film, sometimes they'll show them in the real life and they'll have the headsets on and be in the game and be able to see things.
That's something that bugs me. Yeah.
Sometimes they'll be in the game and they'll just be entirely invested in the game and not see anything around their environment. Like, what is this weird inconsistency with? I
Yeah.
get that you want to shoot some cool shots, but it's still a film that has to make sense, and I have to be invested in this film and not get thrown out of it. So this isn't just about, oh look, that's that thing from that game. It has to be a film that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that to me felt immediately just like, do you not realise I'm a person who understands how film works and I'm going to get taken out by stuff that doesn't make sense? You can't just throw another reference at me and hope I'm dumb enough to just jump along to the next reference. It starts to make sense as a film. I am getting worked up by that.
I know, I can tell.
It's been
I
a
like
while
it.
I'm
since we
feeling
watched
the
it.
fire
Yeah.
back.
But it's just, it really annoyed me that, like, I get that you want to make a film that appeals to nerd culture, but how about make it a film that actually flows as a film as well and is, like, has some actual depth to it? Like, because those people aren't just, oh, I like to play the next game, I like to see the next thing. Like, the reason people get into these games and these films and these worlds is because there's really in-depth detail with the way they set up these worlds and the people, the characters they create within these games and stuff. But there was none of that in this film. It was just, oh, now you see that person, now you see that person.
Yeah.
So that side of it to me was why I keep saying that it feels like demeaning and disparaging and looking down on the whole culture that they're trying to big up.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I feel like if you were going to do that, though, it'd be an entirely different story. And this is based off off a book, that wasn't that story. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the story is originally. Maybe it's like a 50 Shades of Grey situation where the source materials are only so good, so you can't exactly even no matter how big it is, you can't suddenly imbue a load of depth to characters and a load of.
oh yeah, no.
So maybe it's something like that, but then
Because I feel like
I'm
the
not forgiving
purpose... yeah, no, and you're not wrong too either. I feel like the reason why the stereotypes are used, and I feel like I do have credible thing because I've done like academic papers on stereotypes and stuff.
Yeah,
but
go for it. I'm just talking
no,
out loud.
it's just it's because they like stereotypes in a film serve a specific purpose, and that is to allow the audience to understand the characters quicker, so they don't have to like find out who this person is or that person is. So
Yeah.
if you kind of tick these boxes, you're like, oh, I know what that person is, I know who this person is, I can just get more involved into the story and see where
Yeah.
it's going, rather than being like, oh, I wonder what they're thinking, I wonder what they're doing. So I can kind of see why the film works towards something like that.
of course, yeah.
But at the same time, these kids who, like, and they are pretty much kids,
yeah.
who manage to come up with these awesome quips and escape the police and do all this, and like, because I remember even all of us at some point, it's like they manage to do all this and then they don't cover up the car when they're hiding.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
So you
guys,
shut the
come on.
gate.
They left the garage door open.
Yeah,
It wasn't
exactly.
Even that.
It wasn't-
like
yeah.
They were like, oh, we shut the gates. Nah, let's go get KFC, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Just like
And
shut the.
Yeah, and then stuff like with the visors and stuff, and I've heard people say, like maybe it's to do with your settings. So like sometimes if you're out in the world, you can change it so you can see through it, but then you can also see the world. But I'm just like,
We'll set that up in the film.
yeah,
We're still
exactly.
an audience
Yeah,
who
no,
have
so
discerning
I,
eye, and that's
I
who
agree
takes
with
some
you in
people
that
out.
sense as well. So
So again, sorry, I know you were enthusiastic about it, and I'm
oh yeah, no,
usual, but
you're bringing up the right points, but that that I thought weren't
and if
stellar.
I'd have watched it in a different mood, I could have. None of this might have occurred to me. I might have gone in with the right kind of open mind and open heart, and it would have just worked perfectly. But maybe I went in the wrong mood. Maybe it was just like I'm not that invested in those cultural references. I was looking at it as more of an objective film, and to me, as an objective film, it doesn't play enough. It's just too basic in its characters and its story, and just the way that the way it's trying to tick certain structural parts of a story, to me, was just not worked hard enough on. But it could have been different if I'd watched it at a different time.
Okay. So if you've not said much about this film,
I didn't have a chance. No, the one thing I liked about it that really stood out
just
was
Yeah.
yeah, I
was
don't know.
the car race, the first challenge. And even though I liked it at the start, you made me watch Spy Kids 3. And now,
It's better car race.
yeah.
Definitely.
And I was just like, this
serious?
is just,
Yep.
yeah, I 100%
Oh, wow.
enjoyed it more. And then after we watched Spy Kids 3, I just preferred that to Ready Player One, which is insane.
I
I'm
stand
glad
by
that you like Spy Kids. That's
I mean, Spy Kids was alright. I was just like, what is going on? But I still prefer that to Ready Player One.
To be
I
fair,
think
you might not have disliked it as much if I hadn't been there, because I did. There was a few times where you looked over at me and I was just also reciprocating.
you were
and I was
just,
saying,
you were just, yeah.
what? Or maybe I was like, you could feel my reaction, like in the chair next to you, that also dragged you out. But
I feel like it was mainly because I was waiting. I was like, well, he's obviously going to get it in the end. He's going to get the girl. We knew where it was going.
yeah, but I suppose that's that kind of film. Like when you're going into
Yeah.
like 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri,
you don't know.
you have no idea where that film's going, and it's also that's the kind of film where character development is essential to where your story's going. So that's how you get so invested in it, which is why it's such a good film.
I think I understand like the pop culture references and even though it's regarding like virtual reality, I feel like we'd get just as good references in Wreck-It Ralph Breaking the Internet that's coming up.
Oh, I much prefer Wreck-It Ralph.
That's going to reference quite a lot of games and internet and things from the past.
Yeah.
And I feel like that'll do it in a much better way rather than
I'm really glad you brought that
such.
up.
Yeah.
Because the first one, the references were integrated into the game. Like all those old school games were a part of the adventure. Whereas for this, it was like, okay, now someone from World of Warcraft is going to come in the background and launch somebody. But it's not like integrated into the story with like, oh, and then you'd want this guy because he had this thing. It was just like, well, then this massive guy comes over. This person looks like this because they've got guns. But like, there was no real integration into the actual story with why the characters worked and why the references particularly fit to me.
Yeah.
It was just, we'll throw in as many as we can, and then nerds will go mad looking at Easter eggs. And that was the idea behind the film to me.
Yeah.
Was that nerds will be like, oh, look, they'll like that one, and then they'll see that guy in the background. And to me, it was like, we want more than that from a film. Mm-hmm. And if
That's-
you,
yeah.
especially if
That's
Spielberg's
me,
gonna
though.
do it.
Yeah, I know.
You
it's
just, want,
it.
you just want to look in the background for something rather than have it make sense to the story.
Oh no! Like, but with this film specifically, I feel like that's kind of the point of it, because it's not saying like I want this to be as a part of the plot. It's saying this is what the internet is like. This is the amount of people that come together in this world, and anyone can be whoever they want, and everyone has certain preferences and stuff. And then, like, specifically going to the third task, which was on Planet Doom, and then there's that shot of everyone on the Oasis.
Yeah, that
attacking
was pretty good.
and to see all the different kind of like vehicles and references to other games and stuff, and it's not necessarily like it's not a shot panning to this sort of person. It's like, oh, there is someone in the background,
Yeah,
but
that
it's
I
not
buy.
like saying it's not focusing on that person because it's still focusing on the main characters, but it's showing you that this is part of that world.
Yeah,
So that's where I feel like where it comes in to say
it
it's
definitely
not about.
works well in that moment.
Yeah, so I feel like if there'd have been like a montage of shots of just being like, oh, this is this person, this is that person, it's like it wouldn't have worked that much. But because you have such big wide shots where everyone is a reference to something else, then it kind of works. But I can see your arguments as to say why it's not.
I think the one thing that I didn't like, I compared it kind of to Suicide Squad. You might not agree. The way that they added songs in. No, yeah, genuinely, it was just seemed like, oh, this is an old song
Okay,
everyone
yeah.
would know.
Yeah.
I'll put that
There is-
here,
yeah,
and it's
there-
like,
there-
what? That doesn't
Like
fit.
Guardians of the Galaxy, they were like, "Oh, a '70s soundtrack works." And they
Yeah.
were like, oh, well, quickly, people like that song, right? Everyone knows that song.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that completely with the scene where they're in the bar or the disco,
club,
yeah, the disco club place, and then they just put on the Bee
Disco
Gees.
club.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's just
I
like
forgot
random
about
music
that.
and stuff, and it just puts on the Bee Gees
Yeah,
just to
that
get
made us
that
both
Saturday
very
night.
angry.
That made me angry, and him saying his name made me extremely angry. You should know that you shouldn't say your name in. Oh God,
Yeah.
no! This film.
So just quickly before we kind of go into because we've talked little bits about the film and stuff.
But you guys off.
I want to talk specifically about that Shining film, like their Shining reference
Yeah,
in itself as the second task.
Yeah,
That was amazing.
that was really
It was
good.
really well
The
done.
way that they recreated the whole, the Overlook Hotel and all the different shots they managed to get in with it, but also the blending of that with CGI,
That's-
or was it all CGI?
Yeah.
Because some bits did look like they were shot in the actual Overlook Hotel. So
Yeah,
I don't.
no, I'm not sure.
it's
with
interesting
that.
that.
Yeah, so it's just like, did he recreate it? Because I don't even know if the building's still there. That's
The-
the thing.
That's
No,
an example
yeah,
for
no.
me.
Because
It's-
Kubrick was, because I remember on 2001 Space Odyssey, he destroyed all the sets that no one could ever recreate the film. So I don't know if he's ever done that with any
If
other
that
film.
was just CGI, that
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah.
Oh my
But
god.
again, like I'm saying, integrating it in, that was the one bit that was really well integrated. To me, none of the other references were, and this was the one bit that wasn't in the story, because this was clearly the bit that Spielberg really wanted to do. So to me, I don't know why, but I just feel like Steven Spielberg was kind of half bought in, half not, to a certain degree, where it was just like, he realised that I don't know, he chat with his grandkids, and he realised they liked those kind of things, but he didn't really have an understanding for why people like those kind of games and virtual worlds and stuff. But he understood with The Shining because he did that way.
Yeah.
So that to me was so different to the rest of the references in the film, because The Shining one, you were in The Shining, the characters were in The Shining, the Shining world reacted back with them the way that it would,
Yeah.
and none of the other references did. Like none of the World of Warcraft characters didn't react, or what of the Overwatch characters, whatever they may be, they didn't react in the same. They didn't react in a way that their world would put into this virtual reality world.
Yeah.
It was just, oh, you get to see that. So that Shining to me is a really good example of, that's the bit everybody's pointing out is the most kind of impressive bit of the film, I'd say, right? And that's the one that Steven Spielberg added because that was the reference he wanted to make. So it just shows to me the difference it makes when something's personal to you, as opposed to just like he read the source material, he got some marketing research for the stuff people were into, and he just shoved them all in the background. So that kind of, again, I'm using it to prove my point, but that, yeah, you could feel that difference to me, and everybody who watched it could feel the difference in the way that they talk about it.
I feel like the only way that you could kind of blend what we've been talking about together is you kind of do this film first. If there's a sequel or if there's more, that'd be great. Because what
Would
I sorry, what?
I just
Would
said,
it? Yeah, no.
No,
what?
hang on. Let me
Ready Player
explain,
Two?
please.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
because you've got that overabundance of pop culture references out of the way now. You've done, because no one else has done that kind of film before. So I feel like that's the film they would have had to make in order to kind of get this done. So the next film, if there was, which I don't know if there would be, or if someone else makes a similar type of film, you then integrate the personal side of it and make it more of a character development study. So it's like following this main character through different parts of the Oasis, or whatever it would be if it's a different story, but then focusing on the blending of developing this character as he goes through like different scenarios, which are also then references within themselves. So it's like he goes through The Shining to then realize he has to go back through this part, which is I don't know,
He has to
Nightmare on
play a
Elm
level
Street.
on Doom or whatever it
Yeah,
might be.
but
just
like it's more of a
he's in the world.
yeah. So and you follow him rather than just the spectacle of it, because I feel like this film is not for the character development. It's more for the spectacle, and like no one's ever done this before on this massive scale.
Yeah.
So
Maybe I had my standard set to a different level to whatever.
yeah, because I feel like that's what the difference is between you and I, in that I'm not expecting it to be what we've come to accustom what a film should be.
Yeah, and whatever.
In that
Yeah,
it's
whatever
more for the spectacle, because it's a big blockbuster film. It's Steven Spielberg. You know, you're not looking at. I'm trying to think who's more of a character. Like,
But whatever, Steven Spielberg, by the way, is more of a character, like Schindler's List, whatever it might be.
Oh, yeah, I
Whenever
forgot he
you
did that.
can have blockbusters with real character work in them, and I'm always somebody who wants either really interesting world building and integration or character stuff. And this was never on the cards with this film, and I had my ideas set wrong. But I just think at that point you've got enough kind of. He's been working in the industry. You know, he's been making films for 40 years. He should be able to do something in a way that's intelligent and creative and pushing the boundaries, as well as chucking those references in. So to me, it was a little of a disappointment. Well, it was a major disappointment that way. But
Fair
I
enough,
also
yeah.
wasn't that keyed up about it beforehand, so it wasn't really that much of a disappointment. So I'm just going to contradict myself 3 times in one sentence.
I just the only person I'd love to see make this type of film now is Martin Scorsese.
No, I wouldn't. Hell no.
No,
That's not
'cause-
his world. the
No,
video
that's
game
what I'm
world.
thinking, because like Spielberg's not about that
I want
world.
someone 26, no older than 26, making
No, because
this
what
the
I'm
sequel.
what I'm thinking possibly is like the way that Scorsese works characters in, and then make the character the focus piece rather than the world. So it's like, imagine Wolf of Wall Street sort of character development through that type of world. Obviously, that'd be a
I see what you're
fucking
saying,
mental
yeah,
film.
but I just think the person who can really make make a sequel, please don't, to this film would be somebody who grew up in that world and understood that it's not just the flashy levels and the level and, like, you know, clicking the buttons that makes people love it and seeing the monsters and stuff. It's that you get an attachment to this person you're moving around, this hero you're playing as, and this world that they're working through and this quest they're on. So the only person in my eyes who can really understand that is somebody who's grown up and played these games, and Steven Spielberg clearly hasn't, and there isn't a kind of real sentimentality or attachment that way.
Okay.
Do you want to get into the...
I was going to say it myself. You want to give some final thoughts before we go into the 10-star movie review? We're joined by some sirens outside.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think it's completely down to what type of film you're into. Obviously, you've always wanted to see how it would work, and you enjoy the virtual reality side of it. Whereas I've mentioned I don't really like mixing real life and animated, even though they're never really in the same thing.
Well,
They're
they
never in
are.
the same, are they?
Yeah, there's
the same
like
scene.
there's like animated characters in the background with the real people.
Yeah, so I that's sort of a thing that's a no-go for me.
So
I mean, it's not quite the same as Space Jam, but, you know, that sort of... I've never... Even if the graphics are amazing, it's never really a thing that's interested me, so it could just be a subjective
That's
thing.
a whole nother podcast, by the way. We're
Yeah.
talking about doing a
Yeah.
thing where we talk about beloved films that we kind of loved as kids and stuff like that
Oh,
previously.
yeah,
and
yeah.
God.
Space Jam would be very high up my list.
Really?
And that's when I
no.
will fight to the
Oh,
end of the earth to defend. So that's something to look forward to.
I'm sorry, Soph. We kind of took over that podcast a little
It's
bit.
alright.
You were the judge.
Yeah, you were the
yeah.
rational middle voice, while me and Matt got massive. Well, me got way too into it.
I was just like, I'll wait till the end, and then by that point I'd just forgotten we'd moved past the point you were talking about, so
Yeah.
it's fine. We've got the movie
Okay.
review.
Shall we go into the 10-star movie review then?
Please.
Okay, so this... Oh, wait. A jingle. A jingle.
Oh,
A
do
jingle.
you remembered. I'm not joining it.
Go on.
No.
You did it like
I'm not
twice,
drinking
and
a-
it's too much now.
This is the 10-star movie review where we put films through the ultimate test. For every question we vote yes, that film gets...
A
10
star?
start.
One.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
She wasn't.
I caught you
was
out.
listening.
The ultimate goal?
10 stars.
10 stars. As there are 3 of us, the majority vote wins, though half stars are up for contention when necessary. And a small disclaimer, the ratings we give don't always match our enjoyment or experience of the film. This is just a rating system. you ready?
Yes.
No, I knew he was going. I knew he was going.
Okay, so question number
I'm
one.
abstaining.
Question number. I'm not going to do that.
No,
anyway.
please don't.
Does the story make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Starts
It's an
off
alright story,
super
really.
Kid
basic.
in
Yeah.
the internet trying to find the hidden Easter egg. Gets a crew. Gets against the bad guy. Wins.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
about
pretty-
it.
yeah.
Love interest works out.
Yeah.
Makes
Obviously.
some real life friends.
Okay, so it's 1 star. Question number 2. Did the script and the dialogue between characters feel natural?
No.
Yeah,
Especially
no, I
once they became, especially once the real life people interacted with each other outside of the game. Because in the game, there's like an accelerated familiarity you get when you play with people online, where you don't have to like go through your social barriers.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that just skipped ahead into real life, where it was like, it just didn't, like, especially in relation to Olivia Cook and him with the bad guy. Like, suddenly he's got a massive backbone and he can talk back to the CEO of the biggest company in the world, and he can chat up this girl in a heartbeat. And these kind of people who played with online have got a bunch of quips and quick lines, and are also massively proficient in real life as well.
Yeah.
She can drive a truck around, and as an 11-year-old little ninja kid can do stuff. So like that kind
I
of
like
stuff.
the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kid was my favourite part of the film, and he had 4 lines.
Yeah.
Okay, so no star. So question number 3. Did you believe that the world of the film existed? See, I'm going to say
yeah.
because I like the way that they built the real world. You know, it's set in the future. I think
Yep.
it's 2043.
Yeah.
And I liked the way that the stacked caravans looked. You know, it looks
Yeah,
really
shanty towns,
dishevelled, and you would see that someone in that world would want to go to the Oasis because everything else looks so dire around them.
Yeah.
And it was hitting with what issues that keep, like, not to get depressing, but the world's like overpopulation and scarcity of resources and stuff. Like that's all stuff that are going to become an issue by that point.
Yeah.
So the actual, that all made sense to me as well.
Also, I found it really interesting with the. It's just a random bit to do with the story, but the fact that people could actually work through the Oasis and like do actual tasks and get paid like real life money for it, I thought that was a cool aspect to it, which I thought was quite fun.
Yeah.
When did that
I
happen?
mean, it's not new.
It was just like a reference sort of line,
Oh,
but
right,
people
okay.
like kind of built their careers around it and stuff.
I suppose that's probably why it's more devastating when they lose and they have to rebuild it all up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
1 star. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're on 2 now.
Question number 4. Did you believe that the characters existed in the world of the film? No.
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 Just simply because of the way that everything that we've explained before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. Question number 5. Did you get emotionally invested in the characters?
No.
Not a chance.
No. I just.
Is this the same for you as well, Matt?
Oh yeah,
Because I
no,
know
it's,
you're
it's
agreeing
definitely the
with
same for
us.
me too. Because I agree with you in the whole stereotypes aspect.
Yeah.
Like 100% agree with you
It
on
just
that.
wasn't what you were looking for. It wasn't what you want. It wasn't what you expecting or needed from the film, as
It's
opposed
ju-
to me.
Yeah, I expected that to be a part of that film because the film needs it rather than, because it's more about the story moving forward and about the spectacle of it rather than actually following the characters specifically.
Yeah.
I feel like you can make a little bit of a point for Parzival, but again, he's not a standout character. So
No. He annoyed
yeah,
me,
no.
especially in every aspect of his relation to girls. Like the way he was to her in the world, outside the world, it just didn't make any sense for a human
No.
being.
Yeah. Okay, so question number 6. Did the film visually and audibly please you? I'm still working on this question. But basically, did it sound good? Did it look good? All the ways that you kind of enjoy a film, really. For
Sound
me,
good wouldn't. Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
Sound good regarding like the soundtrack and stuff. Definitely not. But visually, it was nice to see them in that world. Just because of the diversity between the different worlds.
Yeah. No, for me, 100% yes.
Yeah.
Just because I love the way that the worlds looked. Like, the imagination to kind of bring out, the stuff in the Oasis I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
Like I just said before with the like you said, shanty towns and stuff, the way that world looked as well. I just loved everything about this film visually. So
Yeah, I'll say visual. Yeah, definitely. I'll say it worked visually. Even with this audibly, I suppose. Not so much with the soundtrack, but just with, there'd be little background references to games, and you'd hear level ending and opening sounds, and there's a lot of detail that gone into it. And it's still a Steven Spielberg film, so it's going to be an impeccably made, really visually well done film. So that goes without saying, and that did go without saying.
Excuse
Whoa,
you.
That's
that
my-
wasn't me.
that was my stomach.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
That was not a stomach sound. Might need some food.
Oh, okay.
So bad.
Need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've just been like, broke the ceiling now.
Okay.
the
We're
same.
nearly done. We're also 55 minutes.
I
in this,
know,
by
it's
the way.
insane.
Do you
We
want
are
to see?
nearly done.
Okay.
You
So,
should.
so that's 1 star. Sorry for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
you kind of went half star, but
Yeah, I'm outvoted anyway.
okay. So question number 7: were you diegetically absorbed into the film?
No.
I'm going to say
No.
yes, but I'm going to get outvoted.
Yeah,
Hell
not a
you
chance.
Are. Oh, yes, you are.
No.
I spent more
Okay.
time staring at the ceiling.
I know, I was just going to say, I'm pretty sure we looked at each other and around more than watching the film.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Okay, so 8: did the film have a good ending?
This is interesting because I say absolutely bloody not.
No.
The way that the villain had a massive turnaround with zero, that he suddenly like became contrite and he understood the error of his ways, even though there'd been zero lead up to anything like that. That
Yeah.
to me was massively lazy and just didn't make any real sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to make a
Bendable.
bad guy, make a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're gonna make him have a change of heart, you know, give some signals, make it make sense that he would have a change of heart, not that he suddenly give up at the last moment
Yeah.
or like some reason, some moral code that was never there the whole time would
Yeah.
then spike up. Like they just even with Ben Mendelsohn.
Like, even if they'd just spent a couple of lines, like, explaining his relationship with the guy who built it. I can't remember his name in it, but, you know, because he used to work as an intern for him before going
Is
to
it
this
Mark
other big
Rylance
company.
who plays it? Who's
Yeah.
fucking fantastic. Sorry to
James
say.
Halliday.
Yeah, he's
That's the name of the
unbelievably good
character.
actor.
Yeah, no, he is. I really liked him in this. But, yeah, no, if they'd have spent just a little bit of time to do with that, maybe, then you would have been like, oh, I guess he does still kind of
That was a part of this film that actually annoyed me as well, was how great the casting was and just how poor all the characters were. Like Mark Rylance is great, Lena Waithe, who plays his friend, the woman who drives a truck,
Yeah.
she's really
yeah.
good. Even the little Japanese kids are really good.
Yeah.
And Ben Mendelsohn, obviously, but just nothing for them to do with it. Mark Rylance did his best, and he's always going to do his best, but it was very much a caricature of like your kind of tech guy, you know, on the spectrum type
Yeah.
person, and it was just
Yeah, no,
lazy, boring, whatever.
Fair enough.
T-shirt.
Lazy, boring, whatever.
Yeah, I like that one.
I'll take it.
So you're saying no to a good ending,
Yeah, no.
so no,
No,
not
didn't.
even good.
No.
Okay,
What are we on so
Fair
far?
enough.
2?
3.
3.
3 out of
Too far.
3 out of 9.
3 stars. Aren't they?
I'm sorry,
Uh,
man. I'm not sorry at all.
No, no.
Did the film successfully relay its message to you? If it had one, if not, then we can just skip this question. But I don't have a follow-up question.
What would you say its
Suppose-
message is as the person who's appealing
Actually,
for
yeah,
it?
no. The message for me is that the bond with people that in like the real world is more important than the time that you spend online. So it's like forming actual friendships is something, because he goes through the story of always wanting to be alone. He makes a specific point about being alone. He's like, I don't clan up, I don't do this, I don't do that. So for him to kind of turn around and realize the strongest that he is with his friends in like some sort of clan, or, you know, just kind of realizing that you do need other people in this world,
Yeah.
which is, you know, something that you actually do need to realize in this world. Well, you know,
Yeah.
without getting too deep or anything.
It was more your face when you said it was like a realization.
Yeah.
You see it.
But yeah, I feel like it
Did you feel
successfully
like it-
kind of says that.
Did you feel like
throughout
it
the
passed
film.
that on, Soph? I feel like they were making overtures to that point, but I just didn't feel like it really hit it with me.
Yeah, I can see that they were trying to do that.
But I didn't
But
come out of
then-
it feeling that way. Like,
Yeah.
I need to have a stronger crew around me, to have a support system, and that's what life's about. It's just there was a little bit of it, but in general, it just felt to me like, nah, it doesn't get a start for me for that.
No, they're all going to go back and carry on in that virtual world anyway.
Yeah.
It's not as if they're all going to quit and be like, you know what, I have friends on this side, screw that side.
No, but he can do stuff with his friends online.
And I agree that we're definitely being
But he does
harsher
that-
on this film than most have been, and most reviews have come out. But I'm just being honest to what I thought of it,
Yeah.
and it just didn't hit any kind of real connection with me. It just felt too artificial and forced, and somebody wrote a script to try and hit on certain points, and there was no real heart behind it. So it just never really attach with me that way.
Fair enough.
Oh, I feel really bad you really like this film and it's only
Oh yeah,
on
no,
3 out of 9
I'll be
stars.
buying the DVD. Don't you worry.
You've actually?
No, I don't buy DVDs. I'll get
Netflix.
it somewhere. But
I
yes, maybe petition for a half star because you do understand its message. I'm just
But it
trying to
didn't
get more
convey it
stars
though. I
Petition
suppose
us,
it
petition
did.
us. Come on, I always petition. You got a petition now.
Okay, so, but I've already made my point on it. It's
Yeah, no,
like-
I understand because we kind of knew what message. We just didn't think it did it well.
Yeah, I didn't come
Yeah.
out of it feeling it. Like I saw it happening during the film, but when I walked out the film, I wasn't thinking. Do you know, like when you watch, I can't think of a particularly good example, but when you come out of certain films, you feel like, oh, I realized what that film was trying to say to me there, and I'm gonna try and put that in my life. I didn't come out of that film like I need to make an effort to kind of, or like I didn't come out of it feeling like the film was trying to tell me to make an effort to.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I'd say Isle of Dogs tells that story, like tells that message a lot better than this film.
And that's
I'd
only
still
one
probably
of
give it a
multiple
half star
messages.
though, because you still know what it's trying to say.
It gets the half star if you two give it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd probably.
Yes.
Fair enough.
I'll make him happy as well.
I can
not
absolutely understand it
3.5
getting
stars.
3.5 as well. The only reason I'm not agreeing right now is just because it didn't occur to me until you said it. Like when
that's
you said
fair
it, I
enough.
thought
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, they were doing that in the film, but I don't remember thinking when I came out, and it definitely hadn't occurred to me in my time thinking about it since that like the message of it is that point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know it's not going to get the last question. Question number 10.
No.
Did the film have a personal impact on you?
No.
I mean, it did anger you, so technically you could give it
Uh,
5 stars.
No, definitely not good. Half star. No.
Okay, yeah, no, fair
So
enough.
3.5
It's a
stars out of
perfectly
10.
accessible film. It's well made. It has its references. If you're into that thing, it's fine. But if you want anything with more depth from a film,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah, no,
for
this
me,
is
it
definitely
doesn't-
this is definitely for people who want to go and see something big and spectacular rather than a character piece where you actually get invested more in the story and the
Or a
characters
coherent
rather
film.
than
Sorry,
rather
gonna
than the
have to do
film.
this.
But
You know when I really like a film and you two crap all over it? Now
Yeah.
you're in that seat where you really want it to do well in the discussion and it doesn't happen.
it's all right. No, to
The
be fair
power
though,
of me crapping on a film, though.
I know.
am great at this.
I know.
Skill. It's a skill.
I know. I'm just great at being critical.
oh,
Oh no.
Oh,
Matt's ripped my mic off.
can you speak
Is
for me,
that any
please,
better?
Dan? Just
I
pull it
think-
up a little bit
I
more.
think- Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better.
That's alright. Cool.
I know, sorry.
Well, we're only signing off now anyway.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, no, to be fair, every point that you guys have brought up I've agreed with.
yeah.
It's just I think I like this film so much, just in terms of the way that I see it, that I can
Mhm.
kind of forgive those plot holes and
I
stuff.
totally understand
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that whistle.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
So how
No,
many
no,
stars did it get in the end? Sorry. Just to
3.5.
reiterate. Okay, 3.5 out of
Which
10.
is the lowest
Yeah,
score
who-
on the 10.5 star.
I think no.
Well, there's not-
10 and a
only-
half? No, just the 10 star.
I
There's only
see-
been two that have gone through that.
Yeah.
So,
you know.
Yeah, I think it deserved one or two more, but just with us in the room,
Yeah.
it
That weren't
didn't-
going to happen.
It wasn't going to happen, and it didn't. With those criteria, there was a setup for a film that isn't like this kind of a film.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any specific
nice
thoughts they
summary.
want to leave off with it?
Not good ones.
I think
So I'll
I
leave
think
it.
I've put enough of my thoughts
Yeah.
out there, to be honest.
Yeah.
fair
You enjoyed
enough.
it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, no,
And
it's- I
hopefully
thought it
we'll
was a good
enjoy the
time.
next film.
We don't think it's a bad film. That's the thing. Even with it
Yeah.
getting that star, we don't think it's a bad film overall. It's just you have
Yeah.
to know what you're getting into in my book.
I feel like it's an hour and a half away from this world, just to, spend time.
Yeah, if you
Enjoying
don't mind plot
something
holes.
If you... right, I'm going to end it there.
Yeah,
you
please
better
do.
It's gonna keep happening from me.
Okay, so thank you very much for listening. If you're listening to this on whatever device we're on, because we're also on a new platform called Stitcher now.
Ooh, Stitcher Premium.
Oh yeah. We're on there, and we're also on iTunes, so you can find us on iTunes as well. That's official as well.
Ah.
Oh, we've been busy, boy. And then you can
no.
also check out previous episodes of Tripod Talk and subscribe to us on whatever platform this is on. I've been Matt Lisder. I've been joined by Sophie Ellis
Bye.
and Mr. Adelamoir.
See ya.
And we have been
What
talking about
pictures?
Ready Player One.
Oh,
Oh,
damn it.
didn't it?
Dickhead.
Whoa! Right, okay, see you guys.
See ya.
Night.
Night. Bye.